Welcome to TechNow, the ServiceNow technical webinar that is here to show you how to get more from your ServiceNow instance and be more productive creating solutions. My name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Services Enablement Program Manager. I forget again, it's too long.
You need to print it out and attach it to your monitor.
The only part of the whole intro I can't memorize. And right across the virtual table from me is my best buddy, Andrew Kincaid. How are you, Andrew?
I'm great. How are you? Good morning.
I'm wonderful. It's a great morning, and I'm going to leave all the technical bits aside, but it was a challenge to put this show together, shall we say, on the eve of moving across the country. So
I don't know how you're doing
the next show you see will likely be in a different venue, but same smiling faces and same helpful attitude to help you get more out of ServiceNow. Let me start by bringing up our traditional PowerPoints, and in all fairness,
Oh no. We lost Chuck. We're trying to figure out why when he switches to PowerPoint this keeps happening. We suspect it's Control Tab or Alt Tab or whatever he's doing to switch. If anybody has any ideas, like him switching, we'd love to hear from you. And I think Chuck is coming back in. There he is.
I was just giving the disclaimer that we hope that things won't crash. It crashed during the disclaimer. Okay, let's.
I asked our viewers to reach out to us if any of them knew any secrets about Hangouts and PowerPoint.
I hadn't even gotten to PowerPoint yet. I just screens. So let me do this. I was bringing up the screen share, and it said the Google plugin died. So share desktop 2. Bring up PowerPoint quickly before we do that infinity thing. This time, Andrew and I are going to share with you. You've got the screen?
I see it.
All right. Now we just have to get out of PowerPoint successfully.
And are we locked?
I believe we are. I forgot to lock the last time, which may have something to do with it. But we're going to figure out a recipe for this eventually.
Someday.
Just as they fix another bug and create another one. It's just software, people. Okay. We are going to be talking about the ACL debugger in Eureka, one of my favorite features. When this was shown to me last spring, I jumped up and screamed hallelujah as if I had been touched by the hand of God. This is a wonderful feature that Andrew and I are all about the technical bits. If you want to go see more process-related things or feature or functionality, there are many other videos over on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/ServiceNowDemo. But for now, we'd like to stick with the technical bits. Before we jump in, of course, we've got to talk about Knowledge 15, which is back in April. We're back in the third week of April-ish. April 19th through 23rd, we will be back in Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. I hope to see you there this year, Andrew.
I hope so, too.
I'm just happy it's within driving distance. So I will be,
oh, that's right.
I will be
convenient for you.
That time. Very convenient. Yes, sirree. And looking forward to it. I have no idea what they're going to put us on for schedule. If it just keeps getting more and more busy, I won't sleep, which is fine in Vegas. If you want to get there, go over to knowledge.servicenow.com and check it out. We will be posting the agendas and the schedules and the tracks and everything shortly from the time of this recording in, what is this, late August?
August 18th.
August 18th as we record this, but you may be watching this in January, or if it's after April 19th, 2015. Hope you had a good time at Knowledge 15.
Hello, future viewers.
Technical bits, yeah.
Say hi to the future.
Here's our thinking dude we introduced a while back, and this time he's up to no good thinking, I wish debugging ACLs was easier. And we'll get into a screen that will make you go, wow, how did anybody do that in the past? Right? It's crazy. So we are going to review the enhancements in Eureka that have been made to the ACL debugger. Just a little bit of background, get you a refresher on access control lists. So when I say ACLs, I mean access control lists. This is the method in which we control records and fields and who can see what and who can do what to those. So it's all around the access control. Very common feature for any platform that we have some security mechanism in there. And if you're not familiar with this or you haven't been to the sysadmin training, you may want to check that out. There are some other great videos and wiki articles. Oh, I'm not supposed to say wiki anymore. It's product documentation now.
You owe $1 to the documentation
Square
team,
jar
right?
or 20 push-ups or something. Okay. At the top of every security rule or ACL, we have a number of fields. These should look very common. If you haven't looked at them, maybe a slight difference in layout from your form, especially if you've been using a release prior to Eureka. And I should say that all of our demos going forward will be on Eureka until the next release comes out. So we're going to try and keep these presentations in context with the current release. So what you see may look slightly different, either from a layout or even a functionality standpoint. This is a Eureka screenshot, and every ACL identifier has a type, which we can see from the type field, a resource, which is on the name field, and an operation. What are we going to secure or allow or do? Are we controlling write access to that field, read access to that field, execution access to maybe a processor? There's lots of different things we could be doing to that resource. And there are 4 types that we have. We used to only have 2. Do you remember the old 2, Andrew?
I know record and geez, I don't know. Was it UI?
It was UI page.
No, I think.
Yeah, it was UI page. And I think it was Calgary or Dublin they discovered client callable script includes and processors could be a security entry point.
You know, so, I've used the processor one recently on an internal project. I have not used client callable yet. Have you?
No, I did use processor also, like you.
Right. Maybe we'll have a show on client callable ACLs.
Ooh, that would be nice too. That would be nice. But the most common one that everybody uses is the record because we want to secure the data. And oftentimes we're interested in read, write, create, delete, and perhaps execute in the case of the processor. There are other operations. I can think of list edit. You know,
do we have a template one, or what am I? I might be thinking of something else.
There's about 8 of them in there, or 9. But the most common ones that I deal with are read, write, create, delete, which are your 4 basic database operations. Right. We want to secure those. Also, we can secure them at a table level by saying the name is incident none, which is for all the incident records. Here's what I want you to be aware of. So if I lock down the table, it doesn't matter what I say at a field level. Andrew's not going to get into anything if he can't get into the table first. And then I specify either a specific field name, like incident resolved, to say Andrew can read this, but he can't write this. Or he can read and write, but no, whatever. I don't know what's left after that. You can't delete field. Or you say incident star, which is a wildcard for all fields. So again, sysadmin 101 stuff here. I'm just doing a quick review. So both for fields, as I mentioned, the table and the field must evaluate to true for Andrew to get access to that field. Again, if the whole table is read-only and he can write to one field, doesn't do any good. He's still got to be able to write to the table at the same time. So the way that ACLs are evaluated, and I've been guilty of doing this incorrectly, but roles are the basis of security in ServiceNow. Anytime you have the chance to use a role, some people will say, oh, this group should have access to this stuff. Don't think about groups, think about roles. What roles do you want to apply to that group of people might be a secondary question. But the roles are accessed and executed first, and they are the fastest. And then it goes to the condition, right? And then it goes to the script. So you see them on the form simply because of the way that ServiceNow does form layouts as condition script roles. But don't think about them working that way. Think about them working this way. Ooh.
Ta-da!
Roles first. Roles first. I'll say it again. Roles first.
And along that line, if you're old school like me, I started on the platform in 2009. I think so did you, Chuck, or were you 2008?
2008.
2008, where it was common to use answer equals false. in a script to say, you know, I want to block all access, but I was recently corrected and was told that, as you just said, roles are faster. So I had to go through, you know, all the ACLs in this project I'm working on and removed all of that and added the nobody role, which, like Chuck said, it's evaluated first and it's tremendously faster than the scripting.
And if I recall right, Andrew, in all fairness, I don't think there was a nobody role back then. I could be wrong. Some old technical have to correct us on that.
Yeah.
If it was there, we were never taught the right way off that. There were no technical best practices when we were kids. We just sort of had to learn them along the way. So the best practice, if you've done this in ACLs and all your ACL says, forget the condition. But if all it says is answer equals false in the script, you may want to go back and possibly get a performance boost out of it by including the role nobody on that ACL. So if at least one rule matches, now I got to break this apart. We're looking at 3 different fields. All 3 must evaluate to true for the ACL to evaluate to true. Okay, so I have to have the role it says, admin. In the condition must evaluate to true, and the script must evaluate to true. And what happens if there's no script in this example, Andrew? What is that?
I'm going to guess that's just true.
Yeah, it's basically ignored, which evaluates to true, and as we'll see in the debugger, it goes, yeah, that's good enough, you pass. So having no condition or no script or no roles is as good as the whole ACL being wide open. Okay? Be aware of that. So it is true. And if you have multiple ACLs against the same object, let's say I'm saying I've got 3 ACLs that say Andrew cannot read this record, Andrew cannot read this record, Andrew cannot read this record, and the 4th one comes up and says Andrew can read this record. Then access is granted. And if there's 17 more of them that talk about how Andrew may or may not have access, they're ignored. Once he's in the door, why keep asking questions, right? It's like looking for your car keys after you found them. Why keep looking?
Isn't there a term for that, whether you're most restrictive or most, you know, the opposite of that? So in our case, it's not that they all have to evaluate to be true. In order, it's just one ACL has to evaluate to be true. So
and
I know there's a term for that.
Also going back to the good old days, security used to default to open access, and you'd have to go secure things down with ACLs. Now it defaults to closed security, and you have to write your ACLs to open access to those people. Okay, ever seen this screen before?
I have nightmares about that screen.
If you turn on debug security or go under access control and turn debugging on, you get a screen like this in Dublin or earlier. And I don't know about you, but I've never been able to read one of these things. I can't. The only thing I get out of this is some worked, and apparently short description had a problem.
Right. I see green and red.
It's green and red, and it was a read operation, so I got that on the field. So I would go and start looking at my incident.short description read rules and hopefully find something that makes sense there. But other than that, this isn't terribly useful. I don't know where the role normalizer comes from, or workflow admin. Or this isn't my code. These aren't my scripts. It's like
it's everything, right?
Right. The whole platform is talking to you here, and it'll just confuse you. Now compare that. I love this transition. Compare that with what you get with Eureka. A little bit different, a little bit easier to read.
Right.
Okay. Now there is some deciphering that we need here. We'll have a legend on the next screen. But effectively what it says is, on that first grouping, it says, yes, you can read the incident record. It's green. There are 3 ACLs that it had to look at. The first one said, you passed the role test. That's the first column. That green checkbox says, you have the right roles, or there are no roles that are applied here. The next one is the condition. It says, you passed the condition. The third one says, I'm sorry, the script says no. Therefore, since all 3 must be true for this ACL to be true, the first one is a fail. The second ACL comes along and says, you're good on the roles, you're good on the condition, you're good on the script, I'm letting you in. And the third one says, what about me? You don't count. We're already in the door. Right?
Just takes one.
Just takes one. The second ACL comes along and says, now I need to know about the incident.number for the read operation. There are 3 ACLs on the table, and I can see that they're the same 3 because they're blue. They're cached. Blue means it came from the cache. It doesn't have to go back and read the ACL table again because it's already read them for that record. So as far as incident 55 is concerned, this already, it knows it has a table level read access. But the ACL is really all about incident.number. So that second column to the right with the 3 green check boxes, I'm going to try and move my cursor in case PowerPoint doesn't crash me. We're still good, right? Yeah, we're still good.
We're good.
These second 3 come up and says, roles, condition, script, you're good. You can read the number field because there's an ACL on incident.star for reading. So you can read everything in the incident table, all the fields, all the tables. Have fun reading. You're good. Second one comes down and says, what about caller ID? Well, the table rules were cached, so I already know you can get in there. And incident.star, that's everybody, so that's cached too. Next rule down says, how about sysuser.name? Have we read sysuser yet? No, all we read was the incident table. So it checks that. Roles, condition, script, you're good. You can read the table. How about the name field? Well, there is a role, or an ACL on sysuser.name. Roles, condition, script, okay, it passes. So this is starting to make a little more sense. You can quickly read, how about incident.short description? I want to read that. Table, already got that from the cache. This rule says, roles, okay. Condition, no. Sorry, you don't pass. And because of that, I'm not even going to ask the script question.
Right.
Make sense? Easy to read?
I love it.
Easy to debug. I couldn't be happy. Here's our legend again if you want to pause the video at this point and review this. But anything that's in came from the cache, you should have seen those results elsewhere. Obviously, your mileage may vary in how long these screens are and where these things appear, because the ACLs will be evaluated as they're needed, as a list or a form is presented. Green check mark is true, red X is false, gray is I don't even want to check it. Quick demo, cross your fingers. All right, things are looking pretty good so far. You still see my screen?
I do.
Yeah, my happy TechNow instance? You do.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go to a list of incidents, and this is a typical standard demo data, so nothing fancy happening here. And normally I would just see this. However, I am going to go into debug security. You can either go to debug security or you can go to access system security. I did the wrong thing. System security, debug security. Both do exactly the same thing. Okay. They tell the system, I would like to turn on that system security stuff. Now when I look at the list, I see the list, but I also see down below the list all those pretty circles.
Very nice.
And it does this for, here's incident 55. These are clickable links. I could click into incident 55. It does a number of checks for incident 55. And then eventually it comes down and starts evaluating incident 54. Notice that even though it already read the incident table records, I'm sorry, I clicked into something. I'll show you that click in a second. I already read the incident records on 55. It's rereading them on 54. Go back into some of our other videos and you'll see there's a way to make it remember that good stuff and do the check if it needs to. So it rereads on each new record. I got a new record out of the database. Let's check the ACLs again. Once it's already read that record, let's go look at 54, or right. It doesn't need to check them every time. when it needs to check a field. Where's a field on that table? We'll get into that in the form. Then you'll see the second column on the right. Now, the other clickable links are, as you can see, right next to the ACL. This is a table rule on incidents. So if we wanted to find out why is that first ACL evaluating false on the script, we can click on that ACL and be taken right to it. And here we see that script type of G approval form request is not undefined, and G approval form request equals true. I'm not sure what the G approval form request object even is, but if that were going to evaluate the true, I would need that true for that script to work. This one works because I click on it and I check the condition. Condition is nothing. Nothing conditions evaluate to what?
Oh, true.
Nothing scripts evaluate to
True.
And I need ITIL access because I'm admin. I have ITIL access. So if I were Joe employee, in fact, that'd be a fun exercise. Once debugging is on, it will remain on until you turn it off, you close your browser, or you restart your computer, or log out. And those four things will make these debug messages go away. So I love this feature because if you're doing testing, you should be testing all roles and personas that would have to be using your applications or changes. I impersonate Joe employee, and he goes and listens to incidents, and I still see the debug. Here are Joe's 7 incidents that he's opened up. Now look, Joe's got a few more red X's, right? He's not going to get as much information out of this thing. There are ACLs. There's not even a list filter on here to say, hey, Joe, see all incidents. Now, if I really want it, it would be fine. Let's say Joe's a smart person. He's been an administrator on the system. He does incident.list. That should show me all incidents. But it doesn't. That aren't his. Why not? Well, if Joe actually had access to the ACL, which he doesn't, so you can't even see the ACL form. This would get a little if I was trying to debug while impersonating Joe. I can't click through these ACL rules, but I could copy the URL and open it up window, right? As I'm logged in as admin, perhaps on a private browser session, second browser, I can do that. But now you know how to look at the ACLs from Joe's perspective. Why is it that you can do certain things and can't do other things? Let's go into incident 47. And if I had a read-only rule, if it closes read-only. And I can see that this field is evaluated false. And if I tell the browser to find closed underscores and keep finding it, I can read it. I can read it. I'm looking right after it says closed out. I see /read. These are read rules. Here's my write rule. Why can't Joe write? Well, there's a field level ACL that says you need this role to write through this field. Now, what role that is exactly? Oh, hey, look. Hover over the icon and it says you need an admin role.
Very nice.
You don't even think it through these things. How come this one did you need ITIL role? How come this one didn't work? It's incident or it's cache. It's not evaluated. It doesn't care because he failed the role. Why should I even ask? Okay, so I can hover over these and find out why Joe is in the state he's in. I was trying to put that politely and that came out. Why is Joe such a mess? So as you're doing your testing, it becomes very, very simple to turn on debugging, impersonate users, do your debugging, jump into the ACL, fix the thing, much quicker than looking at that list of what like a legal document, I think. I'm not sure what that was. Nice. You like it? You like it? Is it fun?
I- They made ACLs fun.
I don't know if I can go that far. I'm not ready to put that on a t-shirt yet. ACLs are fun, said no one ever.
Except me.
Wait. That might get us in trouble if we go that far. Okay. Some technical notes. There are upgrade challenges. If you're coming from Calgary or Dublin, Eureka, not a problem. There's nothing to convert. This is just a display mechanism of how the ACLs are evaluated instead of all that legal document stuff. It's pretty circles. It will be turned on automatically. You don't have a choice. You're going to the pastures. If for some reason you wanted to migrate back to the old country, you could turn this property off. Glide.security.acl.new. We've offered you an option. For whatever reason, maybe you're having fun with your friends. You turn it off, and you watch their heads explode, and you turn it back on. So our takeaways, this is very easy to use. Easy way to identify how those ACLs are being evaluated, what they apply to, why the system is behaving the way it does, and I'm awestruck at this feature. Again, I jumped up and yelled hallelujah. If you want to get in touch with us, you can follow Kincaid on the community, follow me on the community, and note that Andrew, I think you're all one word, right? Andrew Kincaid.
It might be Andrew.Kincaid for the user ID.
But if you search for his line, you might have to search a little harder. IRC Tomasi on the community. Or if you want to get the announcements of when the next TechNow is, or where to view the video, if you missed it, you can follow ServiceNow or support on Twitter. We would love to hear from you. And of course, you follow us. We will reciprocate and accept your acknowledgement, and you can watch what's happening. So thank you very much for watching this video. Oh, look at that. We're even still in the video. One crash. How fortuitous is that? I'm going to stop the screen share, stop the looking into the infinity, and we will conclude with our magic music and our much appreciated. There we go. Go. As I said, thank you very much for joining us on this video. Hope you have more fun with ACLs than you used to. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching.